Welcome back to Terrafirmagreg. And in today's episode, we are going to really get into the electric age. We've got steam turbines that we got to do so that we can generate some electricity from the large bronze boiler that we built in the last episode. We're going to also build an assembler so that we can make circuits on the cheap, because we're going to need lots of circuits for the electric age. You can see down here, we've got our bronze boiler. It is fully functional if we hook it up, but we don't want to have it running all the time because it consumes a lot of fuel, and we don't need that yet. So basic steam turbine, we need all of these materials. I went ahead and grabbed a bunch of tin stuff so we can make the tin rotors. So we're going to need that. We're going to need to make a couple electric motors and circuit, some fluid pipes, LV machine hull, lots of wonderful stuff. I've gathered quite a lot of materials that we need. One thing that we do not have yet is the magnetic iron rod. We did make one of those for the large bronze boiler, I think it was. So let's grab some redstone and make a couple more of those. Redstone. So to make that, we need to use the redstone. We're going to refill after we craft because we're going to need 2 of these. Okay, great. Don't need any more of those. Okay, the machine casing, check. Machine hull, check. The tin rotor. Made a bunch of tin parts so that we can make a couple of these. Check. The electric motor, since we made the magnetic iron rod here, we have to have 2 of these. That's why we did 2. So check on that. Now we just need the circuit here, basic electronic circuit. This is the reason why we're going to build the basic assembler to begin with, because that's how you make these basic electronic circuits a lot easier. Alright, we're going to have to do a little bit of a pivot because I forgot what I was doing. We cannot use the assembler to make the circuits. To make the basic electronic circuits, you have to use circuit assembler. And the circuit assembler you cannot actually create until you have good electronic circuits. So we are not going to build the basic assembler for making the actual circuits. We need to make this. We need to make a little create machine so we can do this better. And we've been doing this manually, but we need to make a lot of these circuits. The assembler, however, okay, so with the vacuum tubes, it still uses 1 circuit board, but we no longer use any steel bolts, and we use copper wire still. And we use a little bit of red alloy, and you no longer have to vacuum it, so we don't have to use the vacuumer, and you get 3 instead of just 1. So it is a better way of getting these vacuum tubes. So basically the only reason you'd want the assembler right now is the vacuum tubes are a lot cheaper. So that's why we're doing that. But first we need to make this a little assembly line here and make it easier to make circuits. I believe we can just put these on a belt, but that does mean that we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deployers, because you got to put them in the right order. So deployer, we want 6 of you. All right, let's make these. Let's go ahead and start. We're going to put it right here, and it's going to start on this end with a couple of chests. First, there's going to be a shaft here. It's going to go all the way down the line to right here. Okay, that should be good. So we'll go all the way like that. And then right here, this is where we're going to have the chest. Let's get this pine chest out. We're going to put that right here like that. And it is going to be picking up everything into it like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to have, grab some more of this. We're going to have another chest right here. And this chest, which we're just going to use birch, it is going to pick up all of the unfinished stuff. So if we take this brass funnel here and put it on, it's going in. We're going to take the attribute filter and we're going to unfinished electron tube. Let's put that in there. If it has unfinished in the ID, then suck it in. If not, which means it's finished, it'll all go into here. So all the unfinished stuff will go into there, and on the other side, we'll just put some more shafts. Put one right here. Not like that. No, you gotta be like that. And then it's gonna go all the way to the beginning, right here like this. And that is going to go from here to here. And we need funnel right here, taking stuff out. So I'll switch that around. It'll go around to this side where we're going to have another chest. Just put it on there like that. And it is going to be sucking in and spitting out the other side. There we go. So we can come over here and we can put the materials in here, like, for instance, to make the basic circuit, we need a printed resin circuit board. So we're going to put those in, put all the other stuff above here where the deployers are going to be deploying their different things. So it will go through, it will put all the stuff needs to be done, put it here, and then if it's finished, it'll go in here. If not, go back around. Because sometimes you need to do things multiple times. Like, for instance, the precision mechanism. You have to do this 3 times. So we could use this same machine to make precision mechanisms. We just have to put the gold plates in and put in 3 of the deployers, the stuff that's needed, and it will go through and it'll go around 3 times. And if it's done, it'll pop out. If not, it'll go through there. So this will be a multi-use deployer setup. So we're going to need deployers above here, and we're going to do that all along here. But then right here, this is going to be a spout, because we're going to have to squirt some glue onto some of the stuff, and then a last deployer right there. Now, to power all of these, we can switch these so that they're all facing like this, and that will power all of those as long as we can power the one on the end. We're also gonna have to power that one, so having the spout in between is gonna be a little tricky, but we'll figure something out. I haven't tested it yet, but it is moving. So one interesting thing that I haven't shown you guys is that if you have these shafts and they're exposed, if you have a metal casing in your hand, you can just right click on it and it'll encase it, and that way you have a nice block instead of this shaft which you could fall into. Just tripped you up a little bit, because I've brought up power from here going across, and so I've got a bunch of metal shafts here, and I'm just using this to encase them, make them look a little nicer. I've got the same thing down here, because I've got power coming in and then splitting over this way and coming up, and then it's coming around so that these are all powered, and this one is powered by that going up. And then we also have the pump, which is also powered. And so when we need to put glue or other stuff that's a liquid that needs to be put in here, you just pour it into the ion drain, it'll go into the spout. And yeah, that is it. Now let's test this thing out. So let's set up the basic electronic circuit as what we're trying to make. Gonna need some of that, some of that, some of that, and one of those. Don't know if we have one. We'll see. Let's gather resources. Oh, you know what? There is a problem with that. It is going to try and get all of the stuff so you make them in the crafter. You have to do that with the resistors. So with the electron tubes, we really only need one of them. And so it's saying that we need all of this stuff. However, we really don't need all of the steel bolts because we can just use this, and this doesn't require any steel bolts. Not entirely sure if there's a way to make it switch. What if I set that as the default recipe? Still says 2 steel bolts, even though we don't need any steel bolts. Okay, well, let's try that again. Basic electronic circuit. Ah, look at that. Okay, so now that is the default recipe. So now it should bring up the correct amount. Yeah, because we only need the 2 steel bolts to go into there. All right, cool. All right, let's gather the stuff. All right, time to test this out. So to make the electron tubes, we need the wrought iron plate to go on first. Then we need a wire, so 1 in each hand. Then we need the glass tube on, and we put the medium density fiberboard in. Oh, can't do that because that's, oops, that's gonna be a problem. Well, let's just set it down here for now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Okay, we've got the 2 electron tubes. It looks like this is stuck. Now, if we just flip this, then it goes over here. And of course, we have to flip that one as well. And it goes into here because it's done. Okay, that did work. We have to configure it. So if it's an open hand, it will just get stuck. All right, well, let's grab the electron tubes. Now let's do the vacuum tubes. So we need 2 of these, so we're gonna need to put that on. And we're gonna need the steel bolts in the first hand. And then looks like, I think these are just wires. Yeah, copper wires. So wires in the other hands, and then the glass tubes. Okay, so glass tubes are gonna be last. And then we need half the wires in this hand, half the wires in this hand, steel bolts there, and then we can just throw these on there like that. And why did that go all the way around? Oh, because they're not done, because they have to be vacuumized. Okay, well, let's just grab that, and we'll grab that. We'll go vacuum them, and that should be it for those. That's pretty easy, just throw them in here. Chamber is on pressurizing, so we gotta change it to vacuum. And there we go. And while we are here, we also need to make some glue, which means we need some lime water. Let's grab some, our bucket. Where's our bucket? There's a bucket. Okay. Go ahead and grab some lime water. And we're gonna need some bone meal, which is in here. We might need to make some more bone meal. Yeah, I think we do. In that case, we will get this going. And I think this has to be pressurized. And also, I think it has to be hot too. Oh no, it's not pressurizing, it's vacuumizing. Okay, so we are going to vacuumize it, but we do need to feed it a little bit of heat. That should be getting us some glue. Let's go grind up a little bit more of this bone. We can do that in the millstone right here. Just throw all that in, flip it on, and bone meal popping out. Oh, we've got a lot of salt. I guess that's a good thing. Now, back into the kitchen, we can take that salt and toss it in here. Oh, yeah. Overflowing with salt. Then we'll take that bone meal and throw it in here. And, okay, looks like we are going to need more lime water. In fact, we should probably grab a barrel. We can just grab a whole bunch of lime water at once. Like that. Alright, there we go. I think that's probably enough to be getting on with. How much glue do we need? We need 50 millibuckets. That's not a lot. Oh, we gotta keep the heat on, keep the heat on. We've got some mixed stuff here, but okay, it seems to not affect it. That's good. However, if I use the bucket, am I going to pick up lime water or glue? I pick up the glue. Okay, good. Because that's what I need. All right, so now we should be able to dump the glue into there. It goes into the spout. So now we need to use everything. We need resistors in the first hand. Nope. First and second hand. Okay, first, second, and then we will need the vacuum tubes in the next two. Then one electron tube in this one, and we need to spin it around so it's actually working. Then it's going to get glued. Then we have the steel plate. Is that right? Yeah, steel plate in the last one. So we got to make you active. Give you the steel plate. Now we take the resin circuit board that we've got, put it down, and watch it go. Glue and everything. There we go. There's our electronic circuit. And we were doing all that just so that we could make the steam turbine. Which, do we have everything for that? No. We actually... No, wait a sec. I clicked on the basic assembler. Okay, steam turbine. Yes, we do have everything. We crafted it. The steam turbine generator. That will give us electricity. And okay, so we have a setup for making circuits, and we have our electricity. Now we just need to make our first actual electric machine, which is going to be the assembler. And we're going to do that so that we can make, I believe it's the vacuum tubes. Yeah, because the vacuum tubes in the assembler, you can get 3 of them for pretty much the same amount of resources. So yeah, we're gonna do that first. Okay, so we have the steam turbine. Now let's make the basic assembler. That means we're gonna need a whole bunch more of this stuff. Conveyor module, that's new. We haven't made one of those yet. Silicone rubber sheets. Interesting. Aha, okay. Well, we don't have that yet, so we'll stick with the rubber sheets. Let's make that our favorite. How do you undo that? Okay, so if you shift right click, it'll undo. Shift left click, and it's back on. Okay, gives us the correct recipe, the one that we want. Oh, so the robotic arm, we're gonna have to do electric pistons. Those require even more motors. Oh boy. And 2 circuits, which we can click and expand, and it brings out a lot of stuff. Okay. And the vacuum tubes. Yeah, it shows us the right one. Okay, good. And the electron tube, that is the correct one there as well. And since we favorited this for the resistor, it shows us the right number of stuff there as well. All right, cool. This is a nice long list of materials. Let's gather it up and make it. It's actually been pretty nice being able to ride down south here and pick up a whole load of this latex from these trees. There isn't quite as much, probably because it was cold, but I can still grab quite a few. Just need to close this up. Anytime I run out of rubber, I can just come over here, pick this up. It's quite nice. Okay, guys, I got a little carried away. I was so excited to get this stuff done. I actually crafted all of the components for making it. It wasn't, anything too difficult. I just picked this one right here because it has the rubber sheets, because I don't have styrene, butadiene, or silicone rubber sheets yet. So I just used this. It's pretty standard. The only thing was the electric motors, which was actually pretty easy to make. It's just involves a lot of little itty-bitty things. So I made a couple of those. The robot arm was actually a little more difficult because let's check it out. Yeah, it was quite a bit. I mean, we had to have some steel. That's not too bad. Motors again, which are a little complicated. Just, a lot of little stuff, but not too bad. The electric piston, just more materials, and another electric motor. There was a lot of electric motors. And of course the chip, which we used our wonderful sequence over here to build. And yeah, I got all those done. And now we can make our basic assembler. I have all the materials. Basic assembler. Done. All right, so we got the basic assembler. And let's see, over here we've got the steam turbine. So we just need some wires and we can hook this thing up, right? So yeah, where do we want to put it? I think I was gonna put all of the electrical things I was gonna use by themselves along this wall, kind of like the steam machines here. And then if we have something for creating specific things like the assembly line or other things, we can put them on the other side. So let's do that. Not entirely sure if I want to do the same kind of setup like this, or if there's a better way. For this first one, let's just set up something like this, and if we find a better way, then we'll do it. All right, so assembler right here, I guess. Okay. There, and where's my scaffolding? Basic assembler on top of that. And I don't know if we should put a chute on top or if we're just going to interact with it directly. I think we might. If we need to, we could put a chute and chest on top, but I think most of the time when we do stuff in these machines, we're just going to be interacting with them like this. So item output south, yes. What happens if I put a chest next to it, like that? Can I change the item output? I mean, it says going to the south. What if we do that? It still says to the south. Okay. Oh, can I change it? Oh, look at that! Item output west. So we don't even need a chute. We can just have this down and it'll go off to the side. That might be better, because then it's down farther. In fact, that means I gotta use the other wrench. There's the other wrench. We could, in fact, just have a chest on the bottom and then put the basic assembler on top of it, like so. Can we... Oh, then you can't access the chest. Okay. Well, that's no bueno. Kind of like having it up, though. So maybe we'll put the chest next to it anyway. Could even put it like this. There we go. But then you can't go behind here. So is that a problem? Probably not. We're going to be working underneath, and if we do need to go up, we can hop up on top. So right now its output is south, but if we switch it like that, it will go to the west. Okay. Nice. So let's bring power in from behind, like so. So we can see right there, there's the hole. Right, so we need the turbine close to there so that it will actually not lose too much in the distance. So we got the turbine. Not entirely sure how this works. Let's set it down. Okay, got the fan. We've got, I'm guessing that's maybe an input, output. Let's put it somewhere in the middle where we can actually see it better. Not entirely sure. Oh, there is an underneath. So maybe the steam comes in underneath and then it'll go out the side. So the steam would come up and then the electrical would go. Let's just hook it up to some steam and we'll see what happens. Just stick the pipe right there. It's got steam. And if we hook it up, it's running. It's got steam. It's got electricity. Okay, can we pass wires up there? What wires do we want to use? Okay, so with LV voltage, we just have these three: tin wire, cobalt wire, and nickel wire. Tin wire, max voltage 32, 32. Okay, they're all 32. Max amperage 1, 2, 3. So the nickel wire can actually have 3 amps going through it. But then there's the loss per meter. So tin wire only loses 2, cobalt 4, and nickel 6. So it can handle the higher amperage, but it loses more over distance. All right, so I guess we're going to do tin wires. But the tin wire, it will lose 2 EU per meter per amp. But if we wrap it in rubber, it should lose less. The problem is I don't have a lot of rubber right now. All right, we got a bunch of sheets. Got our tin wire. If we put one on there, we can compare the two. So we've got max amp 1 still is 1. Okay, so the only difference is the loss is 1 EU instead of 2. I mean, that's still good. I mean, we're gonna want that, right? Okay, now we can go over here and hook up our electricity, hopefully. See if that works. Put that right on there, shift click. Bring it up, up, up again, and I think, yeah, you have to have wire cutters to do this. So let's get our wire cutters out, connect that up. Did that actually work? Okay, figured it out. That little icon that we were saying, let me see, let me show you. See that green box there? That is the energy output. So you can put basically the steam in any side, but you have to get the electricity out of that side. And so now we actually have electricity coming out and we can hook it up to the basic assembler. Let's go back downstairs. You can see, yeah, see, I just stick it right on top. So now we can undo that. Okay, so the steam is still coming off of there and up into there, powering our turbine. You can see the little whirring fan. So a little tip then, wherever you're facing, you will see where the electricity is going to come out. So in order to place that correctly, because I wanted the electricity to come out on top, I had to be up on top there looking down. And if I wanted it facing like that way, then I would turn around this way, put it on the wall right there, and it would be facing me. So just a little tip for when you're placing your own. And now that we have power coming, well, you can just hook it up right here like this, the 10 snips. Okay. And it's powering. 6 seconds. But yeah. Okay. And there we go. Our first 2 vacuum tubes from the assembler. And that's the whole reason we made this. So it'd be easier to make the vacuum tubes. And also you get twice as many. And looking at the recipe, so normally you would have to go through this process and get the vacuum tube. But now I don't even have to use liquid red alloy. I can just use this one right here. And I get 2. But if I pump in some liquid red alloy, then I would get an additional 3. So that is kind of nice. Maybe in the future I would do that. But for now, just doing this, getting 2 for 1, oh, it's so nice. So I think we should gather a bunch of materials and make lots of vacuum tubes, because we're going to need them for making the circuits. Now, since this is only a 1 amp cable, we can only pass 1 amp of power through, and I think each one of these machines uses an amp. So if we want to, we're going to have to use a higher amperage cable, but I don't think that's a problem. In fact, I'm thinking what we could do is we could have the 8 amp coming up and then run the 8 amp down along the backside here, and then we can just use the 1 amps to go off of those and into each individual machine. So we're not wasting our cable by just doing the 1 amp ones. But we are going to need more, because we are going to fill this out with a lot of machines. Okay, so now that we have the basic assembler up, now we want to make the basic polarizer. We don't need that, don't need that. Basic polarizer. And we want this because it's going to turn our cast iron rods magnetic. And the reason we want that is because then we don't have to use the redstone. And yeah, we could use redstone, but I don't want to have to mine it because the nearest redstone mine is underwater. And it is a pain to mine. So let's do this next. So we'll go to the tree, we'll expand everything. So now we just have a bunch of basic materials we need to gather, and that is not a lot actually. So yeah, let's get to that. And I did notice that this wasn't using a full amp when it was making these. So looks like to make the 8x10 wire, you just have to do a lot of 2x10 wires. And to get the 2x, of course, you just combine a couple of these. And there's the last one that we need. Okay, now let's make a machine. Missing the wrench. Oh, this is why. Yeah, I think it would be good to have a wrench for working and a wrench for crafting. I really should do that. Okay, so we get hole, machine hole, and the basic polarizer. Done. Yeah. Okay. Now we got another machine. Thinking I kind of like this setup, so I'm going to do the same thing. Get a couple of these and place them over here. We'll put the polarizer down. We do want a stand to be on it, kind of like this. We'll just use the scaffolding for now until we craft the better stuff. But yeah, there's the polarizer. Looking nice. We can grab some tin cable. Do we not have tin cable? I think we used it all on the build. Well, let's go make some more. We could place the tin wires down for now until we have a better setup. I think that's perfectly fine. There we go. Yep, amperage 1 amp. So we get the wires coming up. Polarizer, I think you just throw the stuff in. So like you have a cast iron rod here, throw it in, and there you go. Magnetic iron rod. Oh, that's for battery input. But we have not made batteries yet. We will get to that. We are going to definitely need batteries. So yeah, basic polarizer. That was super fast and easy. So now we're going to have a lot of the magnetic rods and not have to use the redstone. Alright guys, I think we're going to call that as an episode. So we got done with the nice assembly line. We got the steam turbine powering polarizer behind us, and also the assembler. So now we are definitely on our way to some electrical things. I am so excited because now the next thing we're going to work on is ore washing. We're going to process all our ores that we've got and turn them into some valuable stuff, get some byproducts hopefully, and then we can move on to even more stuff in the future. So till next time, catch you later. Bye.